So now we have a two-way table to complete. This is all about missing information and common sense. So the total, for instance, of this column, the 9 to 12 column over here, the total for that column is 20. If 9 are male, 11 must be female. And now every number we add into this table is going to give us another row or column that we can work out. So for instance, I've got 11 and 11, which makes 22, but the total for this column is 36. So I'm going to need another 14 to make it up to 36. If the total for this column is 30 and there's 14 females over here, we must have 16 above. I actually have a row of totals over here I can work with as well. So there's 50 altogether, but the grand total for the whole thing is 75. That means there must be 25 here. And if 11 are female and the total is 25, we need an additional 14 to make up that total. And then finally I can add together everything on the top row over here, making 39 to get the total for that row. Francis displays the results for the totals of each age group on a pie chart. The sector angle for age 4 and younger is 120 degrees. I want to calculate the sector angle for ages 5 to 12, 5 to 8 and 9 to 12. So I treat pie chart questions like conversions questions, and we use the same idea we had before, that we want to get out of our numbers and into our angles. So what we know right now is our conversion, which is age 4 and younger, which is 25 years, 25 people, 25 people is equal to 120 degrees. Right, that's my exchange rate between people and angle on my pie chart. So for ages 5 to 8, I've got 30 people. Well, to get away from the people, I have to divide by the people number. And to get into the angle, I have to times by the angle number, just like we did with our exchange rate questions earlier on. So we go to our calculator and do 30 divided by 25 times 120. 30 divided by 25 times 120, and that gives me an angle of 144. So the sector angle here is 144. Now there's actually a very straightforward way to do the last one. Because there's 3 categories and I already know the angle for 2 of them, I could just subtract 144 and 120 from 360. So if I do that, I've got 96 degrees over here. But just to demonstrate the conversion principle again, let's try it out. I've got 20 people aged 9 to 12. To get away from the people number, I have to divide by 25. And to get it to turn into an angle, I've got to times by the angle number, 120. If you do this on your calculator, you're going to come up with exactly the same answer. So we do 20 divided by 25 times 120, and we get 96. In order to complete the pie chart, now I don't have a protractor with me, so these are all just going to be estimates. But for the ages 5 to 8, I would draw a 144 degree angle, which I'm going to put something roughly around about here, maybe a little bit around about there maybe. Okay, so that's going to be my 144 degree angle, that would be my 96 degree angle, and we would label each one. So that's the 5 to 8 year olds, and that's the 9 to 12 year olds. Obviously use a ruler and use a protractor when you do this for yourself. Nico asked each of 900 students at her school what their favourite subject is. The students only chose science, art, maths, history or geography, and the pie chart shows this information. I want to show that 225 students chose science. Okay, so in here, I'm going to use my conversion factors most of the time, but when it's really straightforward, when they give me an easy one, I'm not going to bother with all that work. Science has a right angle in the middle, and that means that it represents 1/4 of the circle, so it must be 1/4 of, remember of means times in maths, 900. And 1/4 of 900, 1/4 times 900 is indeed 225. So that calculation there will do the job. Now I want to find out how many students chose art. Now here I'm going to go back to my idea of exchange rates and conversion factors. So I've got a couple of different conversion factors I could use. I know, for instance, that the 900 students takes up the whole 360 degrees of the circle. So I could use this number. I want to work out how many students are represented by 18 degrees. So I'm going to start with my degrees and divide by 360 to move away from degrees land, and times by 900 to move into student land. So 18 divided by 360 times 900, that gets me 45. So we're going to say that 45 students chose art. Now I could have used a different one. I could have said that 225 students are represented by 90 degrees. Okay, as we found out for the science students over here. So using this exchange rate, I want to take my 18 degrees, get away from degrees land by dividing by the degrees number, get into student land by timesing by the student number. And if I do this, 18 divided by 90, and times by 225, we end up with the same 45 that we got before. So as long as you pick an exchange rate that works, it doesn't really matter which one. 125 students chose history and 140 chose geography. Complete the pie chart. So once again, we're doing some conversions. I'm going to start with my 125 students. I'm going to pick this exchange rate because the numbers are smaller. I'm going to divide by my student number, which is 225, times by my angle number, which is 90, to get the angle represented by those 125 students. 125 divided by 225 times 90 gets me 50 degrees in my pie chart. 140 chose geography, so I'm going to divide by my student number, times by my angle number, and get the angle we need for them. 140 divided by 225 times 90 gets me 56 degrees. So now all that's remaining is to take this line over here and create our boundary between them. So something maybe roughly like this, perhaps. Use your protractor and use your ruler, obviously. This is going to be my 50-degree angle. This is my 56-degree angle. And those would be my histories and my geographies. Okay, and there we go. One of the 900 students is selected at random, and I want the probability that their favourite subject is French. The students only chose science, art, maths, history or geography. None of those 900 students selected French. So the probability is 0. Find the probability their favourite subject is art as a fraction in its lowest terms. Well, we already worked out that there are 45 art students. So those 45 art students are going to be out of the 900 that we have altogether. If you type that into your calculator, it's going to produce a fraction for you, 1 out of 20. Don't convert it to a decimal. Your calculator has already given you a fraction in its lowest terms, so you're finished. The total number of students in the school is 2,520. We want to find the probability, estimate how many students we'd expect to choose history as their favourite subject. For expectations, what we're going to do is remember that probabilities tell us what the likelihood is of doing this thing out of so many times. So for instance, saying something has a probability of 1 in 20 says we expect it to happen 1 out of 20 of the time, 1/20th of the time. So the probability of choosing history on my pie chart is 125 out of 900. Let's take a moment to simplify that fraction. Right, that's 5/36. In other words, according to this sample that we've taken for the pie chart, we would expect to find a history student 5/36 of the time. 5/36 of the 2,520 would give us this expected value. So let's do that into the calculator. and I'm getting 350. I would estimate 350 students choosing history as their favourite subject. I'll do the final set of solutions in the next video.